today. We're going to talk about Jic Kuen, the single punch I get out and stuff. So, Jic Kuen, straight punch, it's the fundamental weapon of the Wing Chun system. It's not the only one, but the beauty of learning the straight punch is when you've learned that, you've also learned the mechanics for side palm, vertical palm, finger strike if you like. So the mechanics between here and here are identical anyway. The simple principle of Wing Chun punches, start off with, if your hands occupy the centre line, somebody else's can't be there. So no matter how you're standing, if your hands are on the centre line, you are forcing your opponent to go a longer path. So if Alan just takes up any natural stance, face the camera for me, natural stance, just put both hands on the centre line. If both his hands are on the centre line, no matter how they are, whether they're passive, whether they're aggressive, whether they're calming, whether they're threatening, whether they're whatever it may happen to be, if both hands are on the centre line from an opponent in front of you, then it's very difficult for that opponent to take that centre line. They're going to have to take a more circular path. And there's a Wing Chun saying, others walk the bow, we will walk the string. We will always take the shortest distance between 2 points, and that's always going to be the straight line. To make sure that we have the straight line, we dominate the centre line. The centre line is the line that links attacker to defender and vice versa. It is the shortest distance between the two, and it's the line that we want to take. With your hands up here, whether they are natural, threatening, however you're standing, if your hands are here, then, in fact I'll get you to inside, we do the same thing. If your hands are forward and backward, whether you're pacifying, whether you're trying to calm, whatever you're trying to achieve, if suddenly that stops being a conversation and starts getting physical, the first sign you might see from an attacker is they draw back for power. The moment they draw back, your brain's already starting to recognise it, but the chances are you're not going to react until they're already en route. So by the time they've come back and started to throw that big haymaker, that hook, that jab, that whatever it may happen to be, you don't have time to retract your hands. You are not fast enough to bring this hand back for greater power to return. So the fastest punch you've got is always going to be off the lead hand, and the most powerful punch you'll have will always be off the rear hand. And your hands will naturally be here in some format or other. I don't know anybody that's that cocky, that arrogant, that good, and that stupid, that in an argument against somebody threatening, their hands are down here. When somebody's giving it verbal diarrhea and they're threatening. You should have your hands up. If you haven't, you should. There's no two ways about it. You are not that fast. Nobody is. I'm here as a threat. You want your hands up. How you put them up, that's up to you. It's whatever works for you. For me personally, I see people put their hands up like this, but that's too passive. Bullies like passive people. They pick on the people they can beat. So if you're a little bit too passive, the signals that you give across are that you're potentially a victim, and that's not good. Having your hands up and being threatening might seem like the right idea, but you've lost any negotiation power, because that provokes the fight, and you still may be in negotiation mode. Not every conflict becomes a physical one. So put your hands up threatening, you've taken away the negotiation. It will become physical because they will feel threatened. Even as the aggressor, they now feel threatened. So when somebody's here giving you verbal, I can't tell you what the answer is. I wouldn't want to be too passive. I certainly want to be too aggressive. Personally, I can tell you what I've done in the past, and what I've done in the past is trying to pacify them, and I've had my hands towards their eyes, and I'm going to calm down, leave it, let's just go, I don't want any apple, just leave it. But my hands are always to their eyes. And the reason why they're towards their eyes is because I know that they're not going to step in. They can't step forward. I'm not putting myself directly at risk of a headbutt or somebody coming charging in, because they're worried about their eyes, and if they're not, they should be. If they're not worried about their eyes that come forward, then the chances are they're going to get a finger in the eye. If they knock my hand out of the way to try and get it away, that's the signal I need. But I'm not also going to stand there static. I'll be talking and trying to calm them down. If I can walk away from a situation, I will always walk away. Because I don't know what he's carrying, I don't know how aggressive he is, I don't know what he's drunk, sniffed, injected, or how high his adrenaline level is, I don't know what his mental state is, I don't know whether he's got 4 friends waiting to leap in with him as well. I have no idea the scenario. All I know is at the moment, it's not a fight, it's an argument, and if I can keep it as a discussion and keep it verbal and walk away, that is a better self-defence than just going in blindly hoping I'm a better fighter than they are. Obviously, some points you have no option, it goes from verbal to physical, then you've got to do what you've got to do. And sometimes that's the only language people will understand. But violence is the last resort, not the first resort. So from the point of view of defence, having your hands on the centre line If his are on the centre line, mine can't be. So it's forcing me to take more circular paths. And if I, as I say, if others walk the bow here, they're just going to take the string. At least it gives you the shortest, sharpest movement. The problem you have, it's also the least powerful, in essence. Because I get the ability to build up and put this massive swing in power. His is very short, sharp. So what we have to do is train this movement to be a lot more powerful and a lot faster. And using the natural laws of physics, force equals mass times acceleration, there's two things we need to achieve. The first is mass. We can't get heavier. No matter whatever you weigh, that's it. If the person is twice your body mass, twice your body weight, that's what you've got to deal with. But it's not how heavy you are that really matters. You can be twice as heavy as somebody else. But if you're moving efficiently and you swing and you're using 20% of your body mass, that's not going to help you. What we try to do is not to increase our body mass through training, but increase the percentage of body mass through training. So what we want to try to achieve is a short, sharp, stable stance that delivers force in behind, puts the mass in behind the punch, and build up to use 60, 70, 80, 90% of your body mass. I'm very worried about giving you percentages because I've no idea how you measure it. But you get the principle. The more body mass you can put behind the punch, the more effective the strike's going to be. It's as simple as that. So mass is not about what you weigh, it's the percentage of what you weigh, and how you utilise that that's key. So that comes down to the leg work, which is why the Jic Kuen as a starting exercise is important, and then the turning stance, the Bumar, and how you stand and how you deploy your legs to support the mechanics of the arm is key to success. Having assumed that the stance is in place, and assume that the mass is in place, and the other element of mass, while I think about it, if you just turn and face the camera, is if you put your basic stance for me, you just put your fist forward, or both, to here. What you'll notice is the elbows are down, and I'm just going to shorten it a little bit. The elbows are tucked in. And the reason for that is because for it to be powerful, it needs the mass behind it. If your elbows are out, and your elbows are out, one of the problems is that that fist here, it's going to hinge and collapse. It's not got power behind it. By turning the arms in here, what you have is the bicep and tricep, one above the other, supporting the bone, supporting the upper arm, and giving this piston action of driving the punch this way. Elbows out allows for collapse this way. Elbows in, it's not that you won't collapse, but the way that the biceps and triceps work means it's got a support mechanism. And any force applied here, this way, will be transmitted down into the hip girdle, split across the hip girdle. In a training stance, it will go down 50-50 down each way. In an application stance, it will be transmitted down the supporting leg, the rear leg, and taken down to the ground. That's where your force comes from. The force comes from the floor, and the supporting mechanism for the punch comes from the floor. Having the elbows in means that your body mass supports. You turn sideways against facing. I'm not worried about the stance. Okay, go on for me. To here. You'll also notice that the punch is rising. The mechanic of the punch is angled this way. And the reason for that is another of Newton's laws of physics. Action and reaction are equal and opposite. When you throw a punch to hit a person here, that person's face is hitting your punch with exactly the same force. That force has to go somewhere. Ideally, you want the force to go into the aggressor because they deserve it. What you don't want is that force to go into you and knock you backwards so that they can then continue forward and cause you more pain and damage. So what we try to achieve by punching, we punch, thank you for that, we punch rising. Even the neighbours are in agreement. We punch rising. And the point of punching rising is that the resultant force, therefore, will be back down into the hip girdle, down, transmitted down to the leg. So the legs support it, the arms drive it, and having the bicep and tricep, particularly the triceps here, pushing up in means any force applied this way now goes down in towards the ground. If I had Alan sat on a set of weighing scales, no matter what he weighs when he stood in a neutral stance without me pushing, I can guarantee if I then apply force and I lean onto him here, what you'll see is the scale will look like his body mass is increasing because he's redirecting my force down to the floor. At the same time, if I'm here and I'm strong and he pushes back up, if I was on the weight scales, you'd see my body mass effectively lighten as it lifts me up. So when something collides this way, if our punches are rising and driving upwards, and it could be a palm strike or anything, but let's say the punch, and it connects this way, it effectively lightens me, it uproots me, it takes away my ability to grip the ground, and if you take away someone's ability to grip the ground, they can't deliver force. Alan, in this stance here, can be very powerful. I push towards him, and he can resist it very easily. If I just lift it and uproot him, it takes away all his support mechanism. So to use our support mechanism, the basic punch rises. So the elbow's tucked in to use the body mass, and it's positioned to redirect enemy force and mass coming in towards you down towards the ground. We said that force equals mass times acceleration. So the next aspect of it is acceleration. If I had a little round piece of lead about this big, and I held it in my hand, and I threw it at Alan, it would hit him on the chest, he'd fall on the floor, and he'd scratch his head in puzzlement. He wouldn't know what it was all about. If I picked up that same piece of lead, which happens to be a 9mm bullet, I'll put it into a gun and pull the trigger, that same piece of lead with a little bit more speed would have a very different result. Speed kills. Well, we don't have lead, but we do have knuckles. So this is our weapon, this is our projectile. Our point in punching is to try and accelerate this projectile as fast as possible. Make the fist travel, or the arm travel, as quickly as we can. The only way we're going to do that is to be as efficient as possible. And that efficiency starts with not using the biceps. So if you make a tense fist, straight away the biceps tense up. The problem with the biceps, they're contractors. Their job is to draw in. You can hug them to death, that's brilliant. But if you're going to push away, keep away, or strike away, then the biceps are going to inhibit you. They're going to slow your action down, they're going to slow your punch down, they're going to take away your power. So we want to relax the bicep. And the best way to relax the bicep is to relax the hand. Keep the hand loose, but relaxed. As soon as that's relaxed, this starts to have little effect. So now it's all about how we contract the triceps. And we want to use a thing called type 2 fast twitch fibre muscle groups, which are the accelerated muscle groups that don't use a lot of oxygen, they don't have a longevity, but they're very, very quick in accelerating, bursts of acceleration. And all we want to do is accelerate from here to target as quickly as possible. As this arm is travelling, and as we are relaxing, because it's taking such a short amount of travel, that muscles are not going to burn out very quickly. It's not like being working on a wall bag or working in a boxing ring where you're going 3 or 4 minutes at a time. You know, punches in a fight are going to be fast and furious. It's not to say a fight won't last 3 minutes, it will feel like it's lasting about 3 hours. But everything's going to be short, sharp bursts if you can do that. Because that's the most efficient thing for what we want. We're travelling a short distance, so we need to accelerate very, very quickly. And equally decelerate very quickly. So we keep the hand relaxed. You'll notice that the hand is slightly turned down. So as it strikes, I'm going to push the arm to extension to emphasise a point. At this point here, that's when the bottom of the wrist travels forward. So what it basically does is, as it contracts, it changes the end of these two bones and it snaps the wrist into place. And we hit with the bottom 3 knuckles. Now a lot of people want to hit with the top 2 knuckles. We don't hit with the bottom 3 knuckles because we think they are more powerful. They're not. Spreading the surface over 3 is a lot less powerful than the surface over 2. But the reason we hit with the bottom 3 knuckles is we want to keep the elbow in. And the reason we keep the elbow in is A, body mass support, and B, it gives body cover around here. This gives you protection. This, unfortunately, may be more powerful, but it's only powerful if it connects. And the problem is it's also leaving a massive amount of vulnerability. You know? As a former professional bodyguard, I can tell you, body cover is everything. You know, when I was working, my job was to protect my client by putting my body in the way. Now when I'm protecting myself, I want to put limbs in the way. Personally, I'd rather not get glassed or a knife ever again. However, if it was to happen, I would rather have a glass stuck in my arm than in my body, my ribs. So, having the arm down gives yourself body cover. We've got 2 arms, so we do the same thing on both sides. So it's quite compact, the hands are on the centre line, the arms are down, they're both in within the width of the elbow. When you're training sitting tower, you may hear a phrase called Maijan. Maijan means elbows in. And it doesn't mean tucked in tight, it means within the width of the body, because that's where you're going to get your mechanics. So what we have is, from the end of the clavicle and the shoulder, if you draw a straight line through the elbow, straight line through the wrist, and straight line through the knuckles, you've got all the bones in a straight line. And that is key to our power. If I had a knife and I cut Alan's bicep off, he wouldn't thank me for it, but I cut his bicep off and I threw his bicep on the floor, it's got the inherent strength of a chicken fillet. It's got no power. Muscles detached have nothing. The bone, however, whether it's attached or detached, whether I take all the flesh and the muscles off or not, they're powerful because they are solid. So your power is in aligning the bones and letting the muscle groups just hold the bones in the right alignment. So that when it hits, all these bones are in a straight line. If there are any changes in plane, however, something's going to cause a shearing force, or if you hit with some people hit with the flat of the fist, I've noticed, you know, these bones here are fragile. You hit something across, it snaps like snapping a pencil. Whereas if you hit it along its length, it's much more powerful. So the alignment of the punch is key. This little wrist snap here is equally key. I apologise. Because what it allows you to do from here, as you hit, is it just snaps in and it puts the pressure into the centre of the body. So we'll relax, 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 because we want to keep all our muscle groups loose, let our triceps accelerate as fast as possible, but then, I don't know, an inch, 25.40 metrics, from target, that's when you snap the wrist in. Now, I know it sounds risky, keeping your hand relaxed until a very short distance away from target, and then tensing up, because the question I get asked all the time is, well, what if I get it wrong? Well, you're not likely to get it wrong, it's not impossible, but you've got to switch on to your normal human attributes. If I had a tennis ball and I threw it at Alan from a distance, his eyes are spaced apart, his brain's a little computer, it will compute the moving target and he'll be able to punch or grab the ball. That's what children can do it, adults can do it, most people can do it. That's not a skill you have to learn. Fire out punch up to here, so that when it connects it gets to that point here, and do it using range. That's not a skill you have to particularly learn, because we tend to learn it as children playing ball and catch and frisbee and all those attributes, those little games that we play, teach us distance computations. So we have that ingrained ability. All we're doing is tuning into it. So the Jic Kuen, what am I looking for when we're practicing Jic Kuen? Well, first of all, a nice basic stance, because that's your support mechanism. I'm looking for the hands to come into the centre line. I see sometimes the hand come into the centre line too close. And the problem with that is I can see the back of the hand. If I can see the back of the hand because it's too close, then I know that there is going to be an outward pivotal movement to make that punch come into alignment. And that's not good. So it's much better to bring the hand in to about here. Because under a natural scenario, that's about the natural range. This isn't. So somewhere about here, it just draws itself in. You've got a straight line through the shoulder, elbow, wrist, all the way through to the knuckles. And then it rises and it dries. The hand is relaxed and it rises to connection. That connection in training could be a sarbao, a wall bag, a sandbag, and you can sink in onto the punch. Personally in training, I like to see people when they're hitting fresh air go into extension. And I know that's controversial. I've had people go, oh yes, but if you extend your arm, it could be broken. Well, the first thing I said is, there's nobody there, so who's going to break it? We're punching fresh air. The reason why I don't get students to hold back on a personal level is if they punch and they snatch their punch, or they extend it and snatch it, again, it's training the biceps. What I want is people to learn to relax, explode, and let the energy go. And if I got a small child and I asked them to hold a stone and throw a stone as far as they could, they wouldn't throw it like this with tension because the stone would fall short. They would relax and throw it as far as they can. And they wouldn't be scared of letting their arm go into extension because it's not going to cause any issues, it's not going to cause any pain, but it would throw the projectile as far away as we can. So in punching, that's effectively what I'm trying to get people to do. Throw this projectile as far as they can. So when the punch comes out, it goes out to an extension. It doesn't hold back, it doesn't shorten. Okay? The benefit later on in training is with a partner, if you stand slightly out of range, any interception done here, because your partner's not holding back, is full power. So it's full contact at this point, it's no contact if you get it wrong, and it's safe training for beginners particularly. Having hit with the first target here, we then just drop the hand out of the way, expose the target, and then repeat. And then repeat. And then repeat. I'm looking for both hands to dominate the centre line, not pass side by side, because somebody could be in contact here, and as you throw in your next punch, if you're passing side by side, you can chase it. If you're stealing the centre line with it, then it becomes its own barrier. And everything is triangulated so that both arms play a part. And that's really key. If that hand wasn't there, even in training, it's giving people a little understanding of how the structure of the body works well. If this hand is here, and this hand is held back, and there's nothing supporting here, we've basically got like half a triangle. two sides of a triangle. The problem is, if I hit this, no matter how powerful the structure is, I'm going to be able to move it because this shoulder goes back. There's nothing supporting it. Just putting the guard hand here puts a forward energy in that shoulder. So even though these two have got gap, they're not connecting. Now it's got this structure because that shoulder is supported. You take it back and it moves the whole structure. So even just having the other arm forward as a guard, whether it's Wu Sao supporting the technique or in this case it's a fist, gives triangulated structure. It gives a forwarding energy, braces both shoulders, and it means that your hand is even harder to deflect, more likely to find its target, and not only is it offensive, but it's defensive. Every punch, as it comes forward, not only is it a strike, it's equally a defensive structure. Again, a Wing Chun maxim, the hand that hits also blocks. It shouldn't just be a strike. It's got to have protective structure as it travels through, so that it works every time for us, and we can control what we need to do. So in training the Jic Kuen, first thing I look at is the Jic Kuen. If you're doing basics, no turning, you start off with a really good basic stance. I look at the posture, I look at the structure of the legs, I look at the upper body alignment, etc. Then I'm looking at the centre line control, so it comes down the centre line, both hands, I'm looking for it to control the centre line, and I'm looking for it to rise and drive up. That doesn't mean later on you can't go horizontal or even sink the punch, but in the early set of mechanics, I'm trying to get people to learn to uproot and drive up. So having hit his target, you drop it, replace it, drop it, replace it, drop it, replace it, and then first we'll just do it in fresh air, and then over a period of time we'll then do it on focus mitts, and then we'll ball bags, and we'll get people doing it in different ranges, short range, sharp range. But the idea of the Jic Kuen, the straightest punch, is to take the shortest distance between 2 points. And that is just the fundamental principle. It's not the application, but it's the fundamental principle we're looking for within a very simple, basic Wing Chun punch.